Project Management Insights, providing project managers with professional development in the interpersonal skills areas of leadership, team building, and communication. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Project Management Insight. So today's episode is the final little piece of my discussion with Jason Scott, and it's perhaps one of the areas where I'm sitting and pondering whether I agree or disagree with Jason's take on things. So I'm going to let you hear the piece of our discussion and then talk to you more about it. Today we're talking about communication and the importance of communication skills for you as a project leader. So let's dive into Jason's point of view, and then I want to talk some more about it from my perspective and my take on it.
The big myth that I like to dispel is that communication is not the reason anything fails, right? Communication is a leadership tool. And so if you're not getting the results that you're looking for, you can work to improve your communication. You might be a better communicator, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get better results. Working to improve your leadership skills will ultimately improve your communication skills. But then in that, the communication piece is less a scapegoat. You're more focused on achieving better outcomes, and you're working on your leadership skills. So I fundamentally believe in it.
So as you heard Jason say, he sees communication as a tool for leaders. Now, I'm not disagreeing with this. I think communication is one of the key skills that a person needs to be a good leader. And so this is where I guess we differ in our approach, because for me, if you are a good communicator, if you are a person that is open to listening to other people, if you are willing to be open and honest in the way that you communicate, if you use effective language, if you clear up misunderstandings, misinterpretations, if you are willing to consider your own biases, your own perspectives, and being locked in those, and are open to discussion and negotiation and working to find an outcome with people through open communication, then you will be a better leader. So I see that communication is one of the core skills that's needed in order to be a good leader. Not that as a leader, it's you use communication just as a tool. So I guess I'm flipping it around from that perspective, because from my experience, if I'm not a good communicator, then there's no way that I can be a good leader. And I say that from the perspective of, if I am argumentative all the time with my team and I don't openly communicate and openly share information, if I'm not willing to listen to the team and hear their inputs, if I am unwilling to consider alternatives, if I don't work towards a win-win and decide or have the view that my way is the right way, and therefore I'm not open to listening to others or taking on their points of view, then that's not setting my project or the project team up for success. I am not communicating in a way that's effective and in a way that is going to create trust, build team, do all of the things that I want to do to be successful, the things that Jason and I have talked about in other pieces, in other episodes that you've heard, pieces of this discussion that I had with him, that it is all about creating that one team of people focused on delivering an outcome. Well, the only way to do that is to communicate clearly, honestly, and openly. And therefore, for me, I see the communication is the glue that holds this whole piece together Yes, it's a skill, and in order to be a good leader, you need to be a good communicator first. So I see it as one of the first skills that you need to shift and change. And what I've noticed in my own life, in my own experience, is this: the better I've become at being clear and open as a communicator, the better my relationships are, and therefore the better outcomes I achieve. And this is why I'm saying that it's the core skill that you need to shift, consider, notice, look at, be open to feedback on, and it's one of the core skills to work on, so that ultimately the stronger you are as a communicator, then naturally the better you will become as a leader, and the more people focused your project management will become. And as we've talked about, the focus on the people is the best way you're going to achieve your desired outcome and fulfill those expectations that your project sponsor, your project owner has in terms of delivery of the change that they require. So consider your communication skills first and foremost. How good are you as a communicator? Are you open? Are you honest? Are you clear in your communication? I think often we think we're clear, and yet if you were to read back what you wrote or the message that you delivered to someone, is it clear enough for them to understand without any ambiguity, without any interpretation required by them, without any use of technical knowledge or jargon or any of that sort of thing? Because only if you can deliver those sorts of messages in a very clear way are you ensuring that everyone is on the same page. And how often do you clarify with others that you are communicating with, talking to, in a meeting with? How often do you seek to clarify in order to better understand rather than making assumptions, being in the habit of knowing or believing that you know? How can you know unless you validate with the other person? Because they might be on a completely different page to you, and you think you know where they're at, and it's not the same place, and therefore you're not working from the same premise. You're therefore stepping off into a different space because they're believing one thing, you're believing another. There's not clarity that's a group clarity that everyone understands and that everyone is working from the same page. Then that's the only way that you are going to ensure that people are heading in the very same direction in your project if you are clear with that communication. So consider your communication skills, consider where they're at, consider how clearly you communicate, and then it will add to your ability to be a better and stronger leader. Communication first in my world. All right, so that's it for another episode of Project Management Insights. And hopefully this series with Jason has helped you look at things from perhaps a different perspective through our discussions and his view and way of describing things. It might have helped you see things from a different light or in a different light. And enjoy your week in Project Management World. I hope you're having some successes, and by all means, like the podcast, follow the podcast, submit a review for the podcast if you're open to it. I would love to hear your reviews of whether you find the information valuable, whether there's anything that you think is missing, whether you don't agree with me. Always open to feedback, and that can be in the form of a review by all means. So appreciate you as a listener, and until next time, happy project management. Thank you for listening to this Project Management Insights podcast. Be sure to visit projectmanagementinsight.com and sign up for our monthly newsletter or to receive updates on upcoming training.